Protests erupt in southern China. People gave up farmland for an eco-park, but then learned the government had a secret agenda. Welcome back to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Big protests over the weekend, and this time, not in Hong Kong. Okay, also in Hong Kong. But I'm talking about the protests in Wan Lo. Wan Lo is a small township in Guangdong province. It's a couple hundred miles west of Hong Kong. Local authorities had asked residents there to give up their farmland so they could build a 24-acre park. They dubbed it the Huazhou Humanity and Ecology Park, which sounds just lovely. But then last week, residents found out a dirty little secret. The Humanity and Ecology Park would also contain a crematorium. You know, to burn bodies of dead people. I don't think that local residents were expecting the park to have that kind of humanity. When residents found out, they were not happy. Last Thursday, they went to the local government office to protest. Residents had felt cheated because authorities kept the crematorium secret. Residents were also worried the crematorium would cause pollution and contaminate the water supply. Plus, burning dead people near a residential area is really bad feng shui. The site is close to housing and the source of our drinking water, a woman told the South China Morning Post. We're afraid of pollution. We don't want money or compensation. We just want the crematorium project scrapped. So Chinese authorities did what Chinese authorities do best. They sat down for a dialogue with local protest leaders and, just kidding, they sent in the riot police. These people held a banner that says, "Love our beautiful Wan Lo town, say no to crematorium." Of course you need riot police. Holding a banner is very subversive. If you really loved your town, you'd embrace the government's plan to burn dead people in the middle of it. In any case, the protest didn't end well. The police fired tear gas and charged the protesters. Around 100 people were reportedly arrested and a dozen or so were said to be injured, including a child. And this elderly woman who was allegedly beaten by the police. And there were other reports of police brutality, including police dragging an unconscious young protester in an alley. Definitely the kind of thing that would make me want to go cow tipping on police cars. One resident told The Guardian that now police are like crazy dogs, beating whoever they see. That's a bit unfair. In some cases, the police didn't beat people. They just launched tear gas at them. Crazy dogs? Ha! Find me a dog that can operate a tear gas launcher. At any rate, the protests in Wan Lo are not actually that unique in China. There are tens of thousands of protests a year across the country, what central authorities call mass incidents. Most of them are small, often a dozen or fewer people. But occasionally, mass incidents involve several hundred or even over 1,000 people like the one in Wan Lo. But what really sets Chinese authorities on edge is that Wan Lo is only a couple hundred miles from Hong Kong. And they're worried that subversive ideas like freedom and representative government could spread from Hong Kong to other parts of China. In the end, authorities in Wan Lo put a freeze on the crematorium plan. But the standoff between police and protesters goes on. That's because the public had no confidence in the government, as it had agreed only to suspend the crematorium project rather than cancel it. Wow, that reminds me of Hong Kong, where the government agreed only to suspend a controversial extradition bill, but not actually cancel it. At least not until protests had gone on for 3 months. And by then, the protests had become about a lot more than just the one extradition bill. Of course, there's a key difference between protests in Wan Lo and Hong Kong. Protesters in Wan Lo are asking the local government to stop building a crematorium. And the Communist Party can compromise by stopping construction and then throwing local officials under the bus. But in Hong Kong, protesters are asking for freedom. And that's a serious threat to the Communist Party's power. So they're not going to compromise on that. So what do you think about the crematorium protests in Wan Lo? Leave your comments below. And now it's time for me to answer a question from a fan who supports China Uncensored through the crowdfunding website Patreon. Logan asks, does Chinese organized crime have connections to the CCP? Well, that's widely believed to be true, but it's hard to find solid evidence. For example, in Hong Kong in July, Triad members dressed in white attacked protesters. Why would they do that if they're not in cahoots with the police or government, right? But again, just rumors, no solid proof. The Chinese Communist Party has an organization called the United Front. Its members work with all sorts of groups: community leaders, politicians, organized crime, even religious authorities. The goal of the United Front is to ensure Chinese people inside and outside China are loyal to the party. But this kind of influence is done subtly, so it's hard to find specific orders like, "I'll pay you X dollars to attack this group." If you want to learn more, I suggest you read Silent Invasion: China's Influence in Australia, or Claws of the Panda: Beijing's Campaign of Influence and Intimidation in Canada. Thanks for your question, Logan. So, most of China Uncensored's income comes from direct viewer support through Patreon. So, as a reward to our supporters, I answer a question from our patrons at the end of some of my episodes. Visit patreon.com/ChinaUncensored to find out more. Thanks for watching. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.